Assalamu alaikum and a very good morning to you all. I hope you guys are doing fantastic on such a beautiful warm day.
Assalamu alaikum to all those lovely and amazing faces who are tuned into PTV World and are watching World this morning alongside Shahzad Khan and Maha Makhdoom. Today is Thursday and it is a very important day because of the fact that we have got some important news to share with you guys, and a very important day to be observed on our behalf because of the fact that we want to share information which is actually beneficial and fruitful for you.
And because this information actually is not out there as much as we would like it to be, and you know, even me and Shahzad, I'm going to speak for you. If I'm wrong, please correct me. But even we weren't really aware of what this today was, and you know, why is it significant, and what is the point of us doing a whole show on it? But really, this is something we've got a show on ataxia,
yes,
which is something that I hadn't really heard of before doing the show, and this is something that is affecting a few people, you know, quite a few people around the world, and we really need to make ourselves aware about it.
And 10% of the total population, that's what the figure is. But to be very honest, when I was actually told by my producer that, you know, this is what we are going to talk about, so it was very hard for me to find articles or maybe research papers on ataxia. But to be very honest, I think since it's our sole responsibility to share awareness, it is the International Ataxia Awareness Day today. And what we have done is that we have called in people who are actually the experts over here in the field of medicine at the same time.
Yes.
But at the same time, we have managed to call in somebody who is actually suffering from ataxia, and he'll be sharing his views and how difficult
And a
it is to live
story,
with it.
and not just for him, also for the people around him, and also what society is also doing to make themselves more aware about this disease.
And Maha, at the same time,
disorder, sorry.
At the same time, I think I'll salute this particular person who's actually suffering from ataxia and have actually managed to come up with an organization where he's actually creating awareness about ataxia himself and how difficult it is for him and for his family to cope up with such challenges. I think that's what we'll be talking about, and how to manage what sort of mental and physical imbalances are there in ataxia, and how do you think that we can cope up with that. For that particular reason, we have got experts on our celebrity couch, or maybe expert couch. So let's get started. On my extreme left hand side, we've got somebody who's been on the show earlier too. She's a beautiful lady. She always looks young to me too, though. And she's none other than Dr. Samina Khalik, who's a neurosurgeon and associate professor at PIMS. Thank you very much for coming over. Good morning. How are you?
Good morning. I'm good.
You're looking absolutely fabulous today.
Thank you very much, Maha. Thank you.
Thank you very much for coming over. And alongside Dr. Samina, we have got Dr. Rizwan Taj, who's a psychiatrist, and he's a professor at PIMS too. So thank you very much for coming over. How are you?
I'm fine, thank you for.
Good morning.
Was it really early for you to get up?
No.
No, it wasn't. All right, and then alongside Dr. Rizwan, we've got Hadia Uzma, who is actually the niece of Mr. Babar Naseer. So I think I'm going to introduce Mr. Babar Naseer first of all. So Mr. Babar Naseer over here has this organization where he's actually making people aware of what ataxia is, and he has been suffering from ataxia. But I think I'm going to salute you. Thank you very much for coming over. How are you?
I'm fine.
Absolutely perfect. We are totally glad to have you over.
Thank you so much.
Now, what we're going to do is...
we are going to now go to a report and give you a little bit of basis and grounding for our discussion. Go and take a look and do pay attention so that when you come back we can be more involved.
Ataxia is typically defined as the group of neurological disorders in which motor behavior appears uncoordinated. Walking, speaking clearly, swallowing, writing, reading, and other activities that require fine motor control may be abnormal in patients with ataxia. There are different types of ataxias, including Friedreich's ataxia and spinocerebellar ataxia type 6. According to research, there are over 40 known forms of inherited ataxias. New forms continue to be identified as scientific techniques improve. Symptoms may vary depending on the severity and type of ataxia, of which there are many. If the ataxia is caused by an injury or another health condition, symptoms may emerge at any age and may well improve and eventually disappear. Initial ataxia symptoms usually include poor limb coordination, dysarthria, that is slurred and slow speech that is difficult to produce. The patient may also have difficulties controlling volume, rhythm, and pitch. Although research is still being done for the complete cure of ataxia, but still different techniques have been introduced to ease symptoms and improve the quality of life of the patient. Treatment for coordination and balance problems usually involve the use of adaptive devices, which help the patient attain as much independence as possible. These may include the use of a cane, that's a walking stick, crutches, walker or a wheelchair. Symptoms such as tremors, stiffness, spasticity, sleep disorders, muscle weakness, depression, or frustration, sadness and anger may be addressed with targeted physical therapy, speech therapy, medications and counseling. The International Ataxia Awareness Day is observed on 25th of September each year.
Okay, welcome back everyone, and that was a report for you just to give you the basic grounding on what is ataxia and what are the basic symptoms, but obviously now we shall be continuing and building on this information.
So let's get started.
Yes.
I think first of all we'll start our conversation with Mr. Babar over here. So Mr. Babar, when did you actually got to know that you're suffering from ataxia?
It's time of 2007 when I'm married. After the marriage, 1 year, I'm suddenly I have first of speaking problem, then walk problem. People saying that what you are taking, what kind of you are talking, walking.
Yeah.
I'm saying that I'm perfect. What are you problem? I have no problem.
All right.
Time after time, it's speaking problem and walk problem got worsened.
Okay.
And then I go so many doctors from here to there, everywhere. I maybe it's 1 year I go there, but nobody tell me what I have the problem.
Okay.
Every doctor give me the medicine, vitamin.
Okay.
But they never know what problem I have.
Right.
The name. So after 2 years, my friend doctor, he's a general surgeon. He just in search on internet. He tell me when he just tell me okay, I have this problem. And tell me the name.
But Babar sahab, why do you think it was difficult for the doctors to diagnose what you're suffering from?
So I'm
No, I think that's one we should ask. We'll ask the doctors. But let me ask Khadia before we move on to what happened to Babar here. But as a niece, as a family relative, how did you see the gradual onset of this disorder? What was the feelings? What was happening?
It was very, very, very bad feeling for us to saw him like this, because when I was so young, I used to play with him. He used to take me out.
Yeah.
But now I used to take her
Okay.
out.
Right.
So it's really bad feeling for me.
Okay.
And although her daughter,
Yeah.
his daughter and his son
Yeah.
also used to, what happened to Papa?
Okay.
And we was like speechless. We have no
You didn't know what to
words
say.
But then
to
when
say,
eventually
yes.
you guys got to know that this is what your mamu is suffering
Yes.
from or uncle is suffering from.
After he researched about his what's happening to
Worries.
him,
Yeah.
then he also told us that this is the problem to me.
Right.
All right.
But
So
what
I know
can
you
we-
dealt with it.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, but then how difficult was it for your family to accept this reality that this is something
It was
which your mamu
too
or
much
uncle-
difficult for us.
Yeah.
All right.
Because if a person happily walking and talking suddenly become like this, it was very worst feeling for us.
Okay, so let's move on. Okay, so we've had a bit of the story. So if I can ask you, Dr. Saab, why do you think it took so long for the diagnosis of this? So, where are we in this whole process of ataxia
I
right
think,
now?
first of all, you need to understand it's not a very common problem. Secondly, the symptom overlap with other conditions is quite common.
Right.
So you really have this physician would have a terrible time trying to locate what exactly the problem is.
Right.
And then for this kind of highly specialized area, you need a highly specialized doctor, a neurologist,
Right.
to be able to diagnose. And then, as you know, I mean, this is not, it's more like a clinical presentation, and then you make a diagnosis out of that.
Right.
But the actual confirmatory test is a genetic testing, and that's not readily available in Pakistan, and it's hardly in 1 or 2 centers that you can actually diagnose and confirm this illness. But it's more like if the neurologist is vigilant and he knows what he's looking for, so it should not be that difficult to diagnose, because the symptoms have a pattern that does not follow other illnesses.
Okay, so and then that leads perfectly to the next question. So what are the symptoms, and as a neurosurgeon yourself, what can we look out for? How can we educate our viewers?
Or maybe what is ataxia itself?
Yeah,
in a bit more detail.
Maha, first of all, I would like to explain what is ataxia. Ataxia basically is not a disease; it's a symptom.
Right.
It's a reflection of that symptom. And ataxia has so many kinds. It can be congenital, as Dr. Izwan said, that's genetical. It's a genetic defect, and so we need to evaluate that thing. Right. And secondly, it has some surgical basis. There must be some surgical lesion which shows itself as an ataxia.
Right.
Or you will be surprised when the patient is under so much stress or tension, he becomes ataxic.
Wow,
and
okay.
ataxia is basically it's a lack of coordination between different parts of the body.
Okay.
You see, there is a special center in the brain which controls all that coordination in
Cerebellum,
the brain. Yeah,
right?
Cerebellum. Yes, Maha, you.
I did some research.
No, you are becoming also doctor while talking to the doctors. Yeah. So the cerebellum and then the coordination areas, so which controls our body movement. And when that control is disturbed, that coordination is disturbed, then the patient becomes ataxic. Right. Not only in walking, in hand movements he becomes ataxic, in speech he becomes ataxic. So it's very important to diagnose it.
Okay.
And the most important thing is that it's a clinical diagnosis, you see. It's a clinical diagnosis, so you need to develop your clinical acumen for that.
Okay.
And rarely when patient comes to you and then you need to go for MRI or CT scan and then you find a lesion. Most of the time, and then it is I'm surprised that it was diagnosed at later age, which is very rare. Right. Because it is diagnosed at a very earlier age.
Okay, this is what I wanted to
at a very earlier age. And when he said that he had been from pole to post to so many doctors and they could not diagnose it. So I would like to convey a message that there should be awareness among the general practitioners. Right. They should be able to diagnose it. They should be able to refer the patient to the concerned doctor as early as possible, so that the patient should be treated.
Dr. Sahiba, don't you think that it's a question mark for all those people who are actually practicing medicine right now, that they are not able to diagnose such a disease? And what do you think is the reason behind it? Is it because of the fact that it's very unique and people actually do not suffer from such sort of disease very often?
Shahzad, I think every disease is unique.
Yes.
So when you become doctor, and especially when you are practicing generally, you need to know about everything.
Yes.
And it's not that rare or that unique so that the doctor can't diagnose it.
Okay.
So there should be an awareness that they should be able to diagnose it in time and refer the patient to the concerned doctor, so that it should be diagnosed earlier, it should be treated earlier, and then the family should
but
suffer
I think I will
later.
quickly move on to Dr. Taj over here, since you earlier mentioned that ataxia can be there because of the fact that a particular person was suffering from depression.
Yeah.
So Dr. Saab, does it work like this?
Absolutely. I think first of all, it's a very serious illness and it's a lifelong process. So I think that would affect your mind. And the person who suffers from ataxia, his brain functioning is quite normal.
Yes.
And that really, that means that he absorbs everything that happens to him. And that's not good, because he understands the implications of what's going on and the implications for his future and for his family's future. So it's not an easy problem to accept and absorb and control and be able to adjust in life. So when we talk about secondary effects of an illness, which is such a serious illness as ataxia, at the lowest level you can develop low self-esteem, and general stress levels would be very high.
Yes.
If your mental health is affected. But at a very serious level, you can go on to develop depression, and with that suicide risk is very high, especially in such cases where people get fed up, they become hopeless, and they can go into severe depression, and then they can become suicidal as well.
Okay.
So the mental health consequences are always there, from in the broad range of severity, and they can be terribly severe.
Okay.
And the worst part is that they can impair the recovery for the patient.
Right. But this is what I wanted to ask you. You know, we're just sitting here listening to, you know, all the different experiences and what the causes are. How do you think that someone who is suffering from this symptom or, you know, illness, how do they keep that mental health balance? Because, like you said, it's a very difficult process to be going through, knowing that you're slowly things are becoming more and more, you know, uncoordinated, and you can't speak, you can't express yourself as openly. So how do they live with that?
The kind of problems that you have with this kind of serious illness, there's a long list of problems. I think you need to consult your doctor and find out what can be helped and what can't be helped.
Okay.
So you adjust to what can't be helped,
Right.
and you try to modify and brush up what you have.
Right.
The skills that you have. Now this gentleman can speak and communicate very normally.
Yes.
So that's very good. He gave us the message, he gave us what he feels. That's one part of it. Then the second part is what happens, how you feel about it, how does your people around you feel about it.
That's the next
I
step.
think that's terribly important.
Yeah.
Now the person like this, the key to the mind is hope.
Right.
If they lose hope, then it's going to be a bad prognosis.
Right.
But if they don't lose hope, and like this gentleman has made efforts and he's trying to help other peoples, I think there can be no better example than this gentleman who has made an effort to channel his energies into other ways of helping other people as well.
Right.
So there's nothing more beautiful than this.
Yes.
So if you have the strength and you have the courage to fight the illness, to adjust to it with your disabilities, and to make it a cause for success for others as well.
Okay.
Nothing like it.
Fantastic. And with that, let Shazad
Well,
go.
I'm very sorry for that, but right now what I want to ask Babar is, Babar, how difficult is it for you to absorb this harsh reality that, you know, that you're suffering from a disease where you know that, you know, there might be no cure, but you actually motivate yourself by your own self on daily
there's
basis.
even
How
you got
difficult is it
this.
for you?
In the starting, I had no difficulty. I never think what to do in the future, but suddenly when after year and year, when I'm going worsen beginner, then thought, okay, what to do? So I never give a time to other person, okay, what to do. So I think if I have the very unique problem, other person in Pakistan have no awareness. So why I not do work to spread awareness on other people? So mostly I spend time on computer and spend awareness in Pakistan. Got so many books from Europe, USA, UK,
Okay.
and then write down and translate, and then spread awareness among the
Fantastic.
people in Pakistan to different
Amazing.
kind of meat.
But
That's
Baba, then,
amazing.
do you come across times where you are full of stress, and when you want to get rid of this situation of yours, then what do you do? How do you motivate yourself? Do you want your family members to be around you, or you can do it yourself? Do you have a strong heart?
Yeah, how do you know when you get tired and
I have
frustrated?
stronger because I know there's no medicine, nobody can help me because this is disease when the person is disabled and totally depend to other person. So I managed to do myself small thing. Until when I'm totally dependent to other person, I do myself.
Okay.
So I not other person had no burden. I call so many ways, do this work. I weigh myself. Everything I drive myself. So
Fantastic.
Amazing.
thank you very much.
Amazing, that
That's
is, Baba.
awesome.
Whatever you're doing is
But
just very perfect.
we have to go for a short break, but when you come back, we will continue our discussion with our guests. Do stay tuned because it's really, really interesting.
Good morning.
Okay, welcome back everyone. And before the break, we were in discussion with our panel today about today, which is a very important day. It's International Ataxia Day, and we wanted to speak about it to raise your awareness. So, if we're continuing from where we left off,
Dr. Samina wanted to add up to the conversation,
Yes.
so let's get
Yeah,
started.
as we have been talking about ataxia, and everyone was saying that it's not a curable disease, but there is a positive aspect about it.
All right.
That now there are certain medications, and we can stop this disease from progressing, and we can slow it down, and so that the patient gets help out of these medications.
But
Okay,
Dr. Saiba,
fantastic.
do you think it's a process of degeneration? We can stop the degeneration with that medicine?
Yeah, we can slow down it.
All
We
right.
can
Okay,
slow
slow
down it,
down.
and at times there are waxing and waning in this disease. At times the patient becomes very well in between, and then at times patient deteriorates. But we, with the help of certain medications, we can slow it down,
All right.
and yes, we can make the patient comfortable.
Okay.
And the other thing I would like to add is that, fortunately and unfortunately, there are two systems in our country. The fortunate one is that we have got a very good family system, joint family system. This family is so supportive. They have time for their dear ones. They help them. They support them morally. But the unfortunate is that we don't have social services.
Right.
We don't have a system where there are organizations who can help these patients in making them adjustment in their
Yes, because I
job.
think at the same
Perfect
time we
question.
can come up with metro bus projects, but we cannot come up with such buses or trams where people can actually
Exactly,
such
they can
people
be
get
helped.
use of it.
Yes.
So I think that's something we need to keep in mind. Okay, that moves on perfectly, talking about the structure support system. If I can ask you, how has it been for your family? For example, you said you got the symptoms after marriage. So how did your wife react to it? What was the attitude?
In the starting, I have so much problem because my missus don't understand me what I have because it suddenly came. So after marriage, the life is going. We want to go progressively, very beautiful, but suddenly the person when has this type of problem. So in the starting, I have no problem, but after time, I'm totally depending on my family.
Okay.
Being with this bag, being with this tools, being with this book. So every time when I call, come here, help me. So they have problem.
Okay.
So, but by the time every person
They understand.
manage me.
Okay, and let me ask you this, Dr. Taj. Everyone, we're talking about this family structure, and as Dr. Samina said as well, that we have a good family support system here. But sure, even if we have it, at the end of the day, everyone's a human being. People can get tired, people can get frustrated. So, as a psychiatrist, what would you say is the best way to handle such a situation?
I think the first thing is that it depends on the person who's suffering from the illness. The person who is suffering must convince himself that he's not alone.
Right.
There are people out there who have similar problems or maybe worse.
Right.
So he belongs to a certain group of people who have problems in society,
Right.
be it physical or mental. The second thing is that he has to convince himself that he can lead a reasonably normal life with what faculties he has,
Right.
or what disabilities he doesn't have. So he can channel them into something positive, and he can use them to the extent of covering up the disabilities that he has.
Okay.
The third thing is that then he has to put that plan into action.
Okay.
So if he convinces himself in his mind that he can have a positive approach, that he can actually contribute for himself and for others around him.
Okay.
That will help. Then after that, the next step is the people around him. Now the people around him will, if they react differently, if they react negatively, it is not their fault. It is the fault of the treating physician who has not educated them.
Right.
And the treatment plan for any doctor that is helping people like this gentleman would be to convince and educate the families
Okay.
that this is what can be done. And this is how you can make this gentleman comfortable, and this is how you can help him lead a reasonably normal life. So if you can convince the families and you can convince them to share and support, and if you leave it to one or two persons, they will exhaust very quickly. So it has to be a family approach, and as Dr. Samina said, it's a beautiful family support system that we have in Pakistan. And it is actually unique to Pakistan and India and Afghanistan that people and families support. And within Pakistan, the people from KPK are more supportive towards their ill as compared to the rest of Pakistan. So if you have that kind of family structure where everybody is supportive, everybody is willing to pitch in, everybody willing to support in terms of finances, whatever the support network would require, then the person's half job is done.
Okay.
And he can lead a reasonably normal life. He can be married like this gentleman. He can have children. Why not? Everything can work smoothly, and he can have a reasonable job as well.
Okay.
But then at the same time, I think I've got a very important message for our government and for all our people who are out there. Now, I think I'm going to agree to what Dr. Samina said, that we've got a very beautiful family system or the network over here. But at the same time, I think if we're going to talk about UK, the family system might not be that strong, but the infrastructure, they support such sort of people. For example, if there's somebody on wheelchair, I think the bus is going to stop, and then the bus is going to get a lower too,
Yeah,
and
it
then
lowers
somebody's
down.
going to come
Exactly.
out, pick him up, and then put him in, so that it makes it easier for that individual to be anywhere he
Well,
wants
not
to be.
even help them, because it's that independent way of life that they can actually just roll
So
it
I
on
think
themselves.
right now we need to deliver this message to the government too, that because most of the time if you're going to go to a private hospital, we're going to see ramps, we're going to see people looking after such people. But then at the same time, if a government is coming up with some idea, I think they really do not have space for such people, and 15% of the total population is disabled in our country. Please look after them. Awareness is one point. Yes, we are doing it. Okay, check.
The next step.
Yes, the next step, I
Implementation.
think we need to work on
Implementation.
that too. And I think if it's on our behalf, I would love to do it. I would love to be a part of it. I will take initiative. But Dr. Samina, want to add up?
Yeah, I think it's a very important and final message from my side is that the most important thing is the counseling.
Right.
As we mentioned earlier, it's a genetic disorder. It is a familial disorder. It runs in the families. The cousin marriage should be discouraged in these families.
Yes.
And if the first child is affected, there are 50% chances that this other child is going to be affected. And if the second child is affected, then there are 100% chances that the third one is going to be affected.
Right.
So they should be strongly counseled not to have these cousin marriages
Right.
and not to produce further children.
But ma'am, to be very honest, now the other problem is, for example, since we have been talking about awareness, and the day is about awareness too. Now, I have a couple of friends, and one of my friends is actually getting married to a cousin of his. Now, I actually talked about the entire thing that, cousin marriage is very dangerous. Now, he came up with the reason, and the reason is that, all my uncles and my father, it was a cousin marriage, and everybody is normal, so I think we're going to give it a try. So now, how do you think we can actually let them know that, there are problems,
Because
and we need to focus on
they
that?
don't realize that when,
How difficult it gets.
when the grandparents, they were married, and then their own parents were married, and when they are going to get married, the genes, they successively, they become weakened, and then they carry this disease to the next generation. So they must realize this thing.
All right.
Okay, let me, yes.
Can I
Dr.
just
Taj.
mention about this? I think this is the most important message of this day, that cousin marriages we should discourage at all levels in Pakistani society. And it's not just limited to ataxia. There is a full range of illnesses which are genetically inherited, and most of the psychiatric illnesses have genetic predisposition. So really the message from us today, even though our religion allows this, but we should try to avoid as much as possible, and we should not encourage cousin marriages for whatever reason there may be.
I mean, and also if you're going to do it, once fine, but repetitive internal marriages, like you said, it weakens the gene pool. So how do we change that mentality then, Dr. Taj?
I think
Because like
this
you
is-
said, it's our
yes.
religion says one thing.
This has to do with education.
Right.
And I think that certain areas, cousin marriages are very common, where they want to keep the property within the family
Yes.
system, and
Right.
there are all sorts of other reasons why they want to do that.
Yeah.
But overall, from the educated elite, this message should go out to everybody at every level of society, that please try not to get into cousin marriages. Try to keep your family intermixed with other family system so that the gene pool is diluted.
Yeah, give your child a bit of a fighting
Yes.
chance.
But Dr. Saab, talking about ataxia, how do you think, what sort of mental exercises can one perform that he can actually stop that degeneration?
Yeah,
The
yeah.
good part, as I said, you need to look at what is there and what is intact.
All right.
The good part is the brain is fully intact. There's no problem with the brain.
Fantastic.
So you can actually do any kind of mental exercise that you want to do. If you want to play
So the
chess,
brain is properly
the
functioning.
brain is absolutely
Yeah.
100%
Point.
Yeah.
properly functioning, and the brain, as you know, I mean, you can just sit at home behind a desk and you can run the world if you want to. So there's really no bar on a person using his brain and working out what he wants to do and what he can do.
Okay, and so that's perfect.
And
So,
one of the other thing is there are a lot of new treatments coming up.
Okay.
Dr. Saba mentioned drugs, but there are a lot of new drugs which are being invented.
Okay.
And then there's always a promise for some kind of stem cell therapy,
Right.
where they inject cells which are
Yes.
of this basic nature, and they can change into brain cells, which can help a person as well.
Okay.
And
there
a lot of
centers
people are
abroad.
even going to China
Going
for
for
that
China
stem
for-
cell therapy, and the results haven't really been positive,
Yes.
but we can always hope
Well,
for
we
the
can
best.
only-
Any improvement is a hope.
Yes, it
exactly.
is.
And so let's ask Babar, since you've got this, you know, how has your life changed from, because as Dr. Taj has said, that your brain is fully functional, you know exactly what's going on. So how did your life change, and how are you
Or
taking
are
it
you
forward?
thinking the same way, the way you used to?
Think in certain.
All right,
No,
so-
as in from before, you know, you lived a certain life, certain way, but then after this, you had to make changes.
Yeah.
So how big were the changes?
Yeah, it's a very good question. Okay, before that, I'm thinking when I'm perfect man, and that time thinking I will go to army, I will go to defense, I will serve to other. So when I have this problem, so I think maybe the God, maybe the Allah, I want to do some work in this situation.
Yeah.
So I never thought, okay, leave it. What I am deciding in the past, okay, what I do in the future, and so when I have this problem, so I thought, okay, maybe the Allah have the good work for me for spreading awareness. Even this is a work is not for me. This is a work of doctor and just or other person. I am very happy. I am very happy that I am not a doctor, not a so specialist. I am spreading awareness of this kind of rare disease. That I am very
Kind
happy.
person you are indeed, but how
Yes.
many of your friends come and visit you on weekly basis probably?
Yeah. This is a very big one. After that, nobody.
So now you got
I
to
want to say one thing
Yes,
that
please, Haji.
if you permit me,
Yeah.
that his family also do not support her.
Okay.
His family shifted 1 week ago to Islamabad. I, his wife, and he used to live in defense.
Because of,
They don't even call him. Are you okay? Do you want something?
All right. So I think
Okay,
this is
this is
a
really very
challenge too, and right now we do
Yeah, I feel that.
have
That's
such
really
illiterate
painful.
people in our society, Maha, and we need to talk about, because most of the time I've been through this situation too myself, that I was sick, I was ill, and a lot of my friends, for example, there
That's
were a
really
million
sad. That's
friends.
actually really saddened me.
None
right
of
now.
them showed up. None of them even called me up that, you know, whether you're fine or not. I think only one of them, he's still with me, and I think I truly believe in him right now. And
Yeah.
I don't know,
Okay.
I have this adrenaline rush of emotions right now.
Yeah,
and
me
I-
too. This is really sad to me. So how do you feel that, you know, that your family and friends are not supporting you?
because I know I'm work life, nothing to do. So I never think about that family problem. Okay, what they do, leave it. You have to do. You have to God give you a work for awareness. You have to do this until you live. You can work. You can do.
But now, Babar, what do you do to earn a living? Do you do anything?
No,
No.
nothing.
Why not?
Because I applied so many places, the people say everything is okay, but the disability come so that's the problem.
Okay,
Limitations.
I've got a brilliant idea for you. I know somebody who have these websites, and you are only supposed to click for maybe an hour, and then you earn 50 to 60,000 rupees
and he's very
per
good at
month.
that.
And
Oh,
I think I will definitely manage to do that for you. But at the same time, I think on government's behalf, this is a duty for them too. That we need to come up with seats or vacancies where disabled people can actually earn a living by themselves, so that they are still intact with their family, because
part of the
I think these
society.
financial issues are the core issues. Other than that, there's no harm in looking after somebody. And since you were earlier talking about the family system, now look, these
So
are the
what,
family
what
systems.
would you say to that? How does someone like Babar, deal with that? Because as a neurosurgeon, as a psychiatrist, you must see people like this all the time where they're being abandoned. How do they keep that hope that you were saying, Dr. Taj?
I think there are three kinds of family reactions that you see in such cases. One is to be totally aloof and not take interest.
Yeah.
The second one is to be over-involved. They're equally bad.
Yeah.
When somebody is very equally over-involved and they don't let the patient become independent, make his own decisions, or they show a lot of emotions, that's also bad. What you need is a midway balanced approach. Now with the families, if you have one or two key persons who are taking care of somebody with a similar problem, they burn out very quickly.
Yes.
And then this is what happens, which we are talking about. So I think you need to have people help you to only a certain extent, and there should be multiple people,
Right.
not just one or
So
two.
like kind of like a shift system, maybe have like designated hours so that person can have a break.
And from the person's point of view, it is a bad idea to expect from others.
Yeah.
Those who expect are always hurt.
Yeah. I think Babar Saab here doesn't have any expectations, and he's been getting on very fine.
But then at the same time, I think it's
really that's really sad.
on behalf of the entire organization, our World This Morning team, I think it's a salute to Babar's wife, to Hadia's family, people who've been looking after Babar, and to all those people who actually have such cases in their families, and they have been their true support, their backbone. Keep on doing that.
Yeah, because
because one day when we'll be up there, when we'll meet, I think you'll have bigger rewards for this particular reason. Please keep on doing that. I know that there are highs and lows. There are too many other problems. We do have these financial issues. But please somehow manage. And if you somehow cannot manage, just let us know. Write to us on our Facebook fan page, which is with the name of World This Morning. We'll try to incorporate you guys with other
and get
NGOs,
involved.
with other organizations where people will be willing to help such cases.
Yeah, exactly. But if we could get one last message from each one of our guests, because we are running. Yes, Dr. Suman.
Yes, Maha. As I'm a neurosurgeon,
Yes.
and so I would like to convey a message to all my junior colleagues or the general practitioners. So as we were talking earlier when we started this program, that this case was diagnosed later, and I said it's a clinical diagnosis. But when a patient who doesn't have the positive family history and he's diagnosed later with the ataxia, every ataxia doesn't mean that it is not treatable. It must be investigated.
Okay.
One must go for MRI or CT scan, because the patient, they do present to us with the disease where the symptoms is ataxia. When they have the lesion in the cerebellum or in the brain, which is concerned with this coordination, and when we diagnose that thing, that is very much treatable.
Okay.
I will not go into that detail because then it will become a bit longer, but there are conditions which are treatable, and when you see a patient who presents after 20s or in his early 30s, he must be investigated.
We'll go to Dr. Taj and get his final message for
I think
today's
the
show.
best message for the day is about hope.
Yes.
That the person and the family must never lose hope. And if you can keep that intact, then the world is your oyster.
Thank you
Wow,
so much.
amazing.
Fantastic. Hadi, if you
Surely, I don't have words to say.
okay.
Thank you so much for giving this opportunity.
But thank
No,
you very
thank
much.
you for being here
and
and
a rich tribute to you guys,
Seriously,
to your family,
and for
to
you
your
doing
parents.
fantastic. And okay, so Babar, if you'd like to just share one message with the viewers.
And you're supposed to look straight into the camera,
I
okay?
have two messages,
Two messages.
especially one message that is just like, if you forward a hadith to other person, then you have a reward. Allah gives you a reward. Same if you know the any kind of disease cure treatment, you should forward to other person. Maybe if other person, if from other person give you some pay for you for this, Allah give you the best reward. And the second one is the second is this: the government should be do a work for when like other disease, TB, malaria, polio, like this. Government should win for this kind of rare adopted disease all in the Pakistan and like many other countries on officially helping for this disease. Pakistan government should aware this
Okay,
disease.
And
fantastic.
Ma, before
Thank
you
you so
wrap it
much.
up, there's only one thing I wanted to say, and that is
Yeah, I'm going to add something
that
after you as
people
well.
these days are robots. They are operating on batteries. Please start operating on souls because you do have one.
Well, I don't want to add anything to that. That was really lovely. But it's like everyone said, it's about awareness, it's about education, and not just reading books. Be a human being, like Shazad said, tap into your soul, because we're becoming so inverted towards ourselves and our own gains that we're abandoning people that need us, and people who don't have anything and they're going out there to make other people's lives better. I mean, that's amazing. So with that, have a fantastic day. Do log on to our Facebook page, which is...
And before going,
Okay, no, we
before
haven't
going,
wrapped up.
I think Babar over here deserves a big round of applause over here, so I think we're going to do that. So let's do it, ladies and gentlemen. 1, 2, 3, Babar. So keep on doing what you're doing and stay blessed.
And your inspiration, I swear, when, you know, the fact that you don't have that support, it really, really is amazing. And I really hope for the best for you.
So getting back to the track, Facebook fan page is
Well, this morning.
and Daily Motion.
Well, this morning.
And the roles changed all of a sudden.
So, yeah, they have.
Twitter.
Just can't handle change, can you?
Yes.
No, and Twitter as well this morning without the G, and the repeat is at 11:05. Do have a fantastic day and help someone in need today. You know, not with money, but just with your kindness. So,
Have a heart.
yeah.
Good
Bye
morning.
bye.